Welcome once again to the Isle of Man for the Manx Grand Prix activity in 2012 on Senior Day. And we're about to witness the Classic Superbike race and the Junior Post Classic race for smaller machines, which runs concurrently. And we can swing on round looking at the very familiar scoreboard, the end of which is the timekeeper's cabin. The roads are still open, so there's still activity on the Glen Crutchery Road. We're looking up in the direction from which the riders will appear at the end of lap 1. I usually start these little films with a look at the scrutineering area, and there we see the senior bike number 9 of Paul Smythe 750 Suzuki, and there it is, full frontal, the yellow bike on the right, and the other one is bike number 59, it should be Dean Martin's bike. That's a 600cc Honda. Bike number 8 is Dave Madsen-Migdal's big Kawasaki. Dave comes from the Isle of Man, of course, and is a regular MGP competitor. A clearer view there of Dean Martin's bike, 59. One or two others on the far side just being wheeled in. Number 47 was one of the senior bikes, which is a Honda that will be ridden by Stuart Hall. Bike number 33 is one of the smaller classic bikes, a 250 Yamaha, to be ridden by Brian Mateer, who actually achieved 3rd place. Bike number 7 is the senior bike belonging to Andy Fenton, big Suzuki. And the next bike we shall see is the BSA Triple belonging to Mark Parrott, and that will race in the Classic Superbike race. Behind Mark Parrott's bike is bike number 18, 675 Triumph, which will be ridden by Simon Perkin in the senior race. Tug of war going on bike number 14, which is the senior bike to be ridden by Alan Jackson, a 600 Moriwaki. I guess that's something of a hybrid. We move into the Park Fairmay now, and the first machine we'll look at is number 5, which is Dan Neen's machine. He's been raised up the order. Alongside his is number 17, Gavin Lupton's Triumph, and then David Crosell's 1000cc Kawasaki. One of the junior post-classic bikes now, number 48, Jim Snaith's Yamaha, and alongside that is number 47, Ian Perrett's 600cc Kawasaki. More juniors now, Derek Glass, number 35 is Kawasaki, and 39 is Stephen Carr's 250 Suzuki. And just coming up alongside, just into view, number 40 of Marek Wiakowski. That's a 350 Yamaha. We didn't mention Ian Bell's Kawasaki number 41, and now we have number 46 Adrian Morris Yamaha, and number 45 Carl Fox's machine. And we're back to number 40 there, the man with the unpronounceable name, Marek Ryakowski.
So yeah, I wondered if he was still in there. I've tried ringing, I've got a Manx phone that I use and all. I've tried ringing on that.
Brian Matier's bike, covered up with a heat blanket, number 33, alongside number 34, which is Peter Symes' Honda. And there's Brian Matier's bike. And this is Chris Palmer's Yamaha. Chris these days lives in Castletown. Alongside Chris is number 12, Maria Costello's large 997cc Suzuki. And very well she rides it too. The same bike, of course, that's ridden by Michael Dunlop, or the same model of bike I should say. There it is, number 12. Pair of Suzukis now, number 22 Paul Wilson, and number 10 is Davy Morgan's. Still going with the senior bikes, number 25 Paul Nolan's Yamaha, and 23 is Anthony Stock's 750cc Suzuki.
Should be okay, I think, won't it?
Number 20 there is Nigel Ray's Suzuki, and number 9 is Andy Lovett's Honda. And behind that is Russ Mountford's Suzuki, number 3. Closer view of Russ's machine. And I think the bike behind that is number 4, Alan Oversby's Suzuki. And the blue bike is number 1, John Barton's 750 Suzuki. And there we are looking back down the row, 1, 4, 3, and so on. And there's Dave Madsen-Migdal's big classic superbike 1045cc Kawasaki. And behind that is number 15, Mark Parrott's VSA. I think we looked at that one in the scrutineers area. There it is, VSA Rocket 3. Badge engineered with the old Triumph Triple. And there's the link, Trident and Rocket 3 Owners Club. Number 18 is Neil Vickers' 750 Suzuki, alongside one of the smaller bikes, Dave Moffat's 247cc Armstrong, an unusual machine. And number 16 is Chris McGann's 750 Triumph. Chris is another great Manx Grand Prix campaigner. I think I saw him for the first time in 1998. Look back up the line again. Dwelling on Chris McGann's bike. And number 19 is Anthony Redmond's Honda, the yellow machine. Down to the smaller machines again now. Jim Snaith's 350 Yamaha number 48, and alongside that is Dean Martin's bike number 37. And then we have a close look at the decals on number 5, Dan Neen's machine. Dan is a substitute rider for Thomas Montano. Thomas Montano was at number 5, but now we've got the experienced Dan Neen in that high number position. A couple of the very high numbered senior machines, in fact Tapio Mustonen number 93 is in the programme as a reserve rider on his Yamaha. 91 is Rad Hughes on another Yamaha, but one assumes because they're in here they have actually got a grid position. I was hesitating to identify that machine because it looks like number 4, but it is actually number 64, which will be ridden by an Irishman, Ciaran. More of the higher numbers, 87, 68, 84, 83, and so on. Oh, and there's number 82. And a second look at number 83. And now we move to the start line. The grandstand is pretty full, as you can see, and in a moment there's an even closer view of that same group of spectators. Anticipation, expectation, realization. 5 Boys Chocolate slogan. Anyway, it's not 5 Boys Chocolate, it's the start of the classic Superbike race and the supporting 250 classic race, or junior classic as it's called. Des Evans leaning on the fence. Des used to be the chief travelling marshal. 2 of the assistants there, and a view towards the top of Bray Hill, which is faced by every rider as the starter releases his hand from the rider's shoulder. There's a red notice there, an electronic notice describing the course conditions: wet or damp patches at Laurel Bank, Black Dub, Quarry Bends and Ramsey Hairpin, and they will show the appropriate flags. One of the marshal's bikes, and a look down the pit area. This is the lane that the riders use when they come into the pits at the end of the second lap. The music being played is of course the Manx national anthem. Usually the governor is here to officiate at the start of this senior race, or the senior days races, but he's not there today and he's being deputised at 4. The riders are starting to emerge from the holding area and assembling in their start positions on the Glencrutchery Road. The photographers too are starting to emerge, which is where the battle for the appropriate position to take a decent photograph starts. And I don't always win, far from it. Too polite, I reckon, at times. The bikes assemble in numerical order. The first bike we look at there is number 3, Russ Mountford. Ryan Farquhar, of course, number 2, who announced his retirement from racing is not racing today, so the first bike away should be John Barton, number 1. But we've just looked at Russ Mountford's bike, number 3. I don't recognise that particular rider, but there's Russ Mountford's bike. And behind it is Alan Overby's, number 4. The 750 Suzuki. Here we are. With one of his mechanics holding it and warming it up. And there's Alan. The riders in the Manx tend to be more mature. They're not, some of them of course are up and coming youngsters, but there's a lot of mature riders. Plenty of grey hair on the grid. Number 8 is Dave Madsen-Migdals. We noticed his bike before. Dave's not in attendance. I would recognise him. Behind him I can see number 10, which is Davy Morgan's bike. And then number 12, which is Mario Costello's. Again, somebody else warming up the bike on her behalf. And looking back there at number 7, which is Michael Dunlop's. And there we have a close-up of Michael's moniker on the screen. Number 9 is Andy Lovett's bike, the 998cc Honda with Andy astride. And that should be Maria Costello's number 12. And indeed it is. Number 15 I think was Mark Parrott's PSA that we looked at earlier, and there's number 16, which is Chris McGann's bike, which I made reference to earlier as well. Again, neither of the riders in attendance yet. Oh, that's Chris McGann. Number 17 is Gavin Lupton's Triumph, and Neil Vickers' 750 Suzuki. This is a very pensive rider, number 20, Nigel Ray. And there's his bike, alongside number 23, Anthony Stock, his 750 Suzuki. And Anthony's alongside, putting his helmet on as well. 24 is Dave Cruswell's Kawasaki, 1000cc Kawasaki. Dave, I think, is a newcomer, if I believe the programme notes. And number 32 is one of the smaller bikes, Phil McGurk's bike, looked at earlier. And that's number 15, back to one of the bigger bikes, Mark Parrott. We looked at that one too. Yes, we did. That's the triple. Looked at that one in the scrutineer's area. And there's Michael Dunlop, clearly the top man in this race in terms of reputation and winning experience. Good mechanic. Michael, he pays great attention to the bikes. You get the impression that some of them just thrash somebody else's machine, but Michael's certainly not in that mode as he moves forward to his start position. There's the Manx radio representative in the red overalls who gives very good spontaneous commentary. And the early riders are off. Great, moving forward to the line. That's a middle. So we're already moving up the field. So that would be number 9. Andy Lovett. Chris McGann just moving into view. We've mentioned him several times, followed by Gavin Lapton on his Triumph Triple, number 17. So the man behind him should be number 18, Neil Vickers. Just move forward now and watch those earlier ones take off along the Green Cushery Road, across St Ninian's Crossroads, down Bray Hill. There's number 19, Anthony Redmond. And I think the next one is number... The decal's rather confusing there, but that is number 20, Nigel Ray. I thought for the moment it said number 22, but it's definitely number 20. And then we have the Scouts on parade there with their flags, their banners, very much part of the Manx Grand Prix and indeed the Manx TT tradition. Parading their flags, operating the scoreboard, the lap scoreboard, essential job that they do, and of course all voluntary. Their leaders likewise. And there's number 22 that we were mistaking just now. That's Paul Wilson on his Suzuki, so behind him will be Anthony Stock, number 23 on his Suzuki. Anthony is in the front of this three in the black leathers. Chappie in the green leathers is David Crussell, and the rider who proves to be the final entrant at this level is Paul Nolan, number 25 on the yellow machine, which is a 750 Yamaha. Now reached number 30, Chris Palmer on the first of the smaller machines, the 250 Yamaha. Chris from Castletown on the Isle of Man these days, but originally he came across from the mainland. And he should be followed by our old friend Roy Richardson. There he is, Roy Boy, 31 on his 250 Yamaha. 32 is Phil McGirt, 33 Brian Mateer. And they pretty much headed the race throughout, with the exception of Chris Palmer, who was obliged to drop out in the middle stages. And away goes Chris Palmer. Singularly 10-second intervals, and there goes Roy, and he'll be followed by Phil McGurk, and in the black and white overalls there, Brian Mateer. That's Phil. Brian Mateer, and there's Peter Symes, behind him Derek Glass. Back to number 37 there, Dean Martin. 38 will be Tom Jackson. 39 Stephen Carr and Marek Wijakowski, number 40. Of course, a number of these smaller bikes, probably the majority, are two strokes, hence the amount of oil smoke one can see. And they're already clearing up the barriers, as you can see, running across my path. There's number 48, Jim Snaith, the penultimate rider. delay and more smoke. The end of the racing field, because Louis Linzel did not start at number 49. The green light TV man leaves his position. Pity about Ollie, because he was riding the Payton. And there goes the marshal, following the last rider on the road. So we're now watching for the riders at the end of their first lap. 99% of them will run straight through because the scheduled lap is at the end of lap 2. But one or two, I think, may come in probably to retire, having experienced some sort of problem on their first lap, which is always a pity. And there's the first of them. I didn't catch his number, but it's always a pity.
That was Dan
After so much preparation. And there's another one. Comes into his pit crew, but ultimately dismounts. Not much urgency there, is there? Takes his gloves off, and that's it. And bike number 15, ridden by Mark Parrott, who has Australian connections, Australian sponsors, is wheeled away. Great disappointment all round, I guess. Now we will get some activity at the end of lap 2, and the first rider to appear is Russ Mountford, number 3. Quite a respectable gap before the next rider appears. As Russ sits there quietly whilst his bike is attended to, refueled, and away he goes before the next man has arrived. The next man should be here any moment, and there he is indeed. Michael Dunlop pulls into his pit and sits there quietly whilst his visor is attended to, the bike's checked by the technical rep in the orange. Nothing very hurried, no mistakes, and he'll be on his way. The warning siren or whistle goes as the third rider approaches down the Glenfretchy Road. Unfortunately, I couldn't identify him either. That's the problem with filming from behind. Difficult job, but he makes his way to the bottom of the pit area. Listening to the Manx radio commentator, I think this is actually Alan Oversby. He's just arrived there. Alan Oversby, number 4, on his Suzuki.
It's a big smile, he wants to get going, where are you going? Thanks very much for that, Alan. These teams still working hard on that. Just the front screen, so thinking that third position at the moment, nice and steady. He's got a little look, he's got a little bit of look ahead, just slapped on the inside of the bubble there. As you look in on the next, to the left hand side of the red counter, there's a little bit of Manx hanging up. Just in there.
And this is rider number 10 with the pink helmet, Davy Morgan. It's possible to hear the speed limiter taking effect as he runs down through the pits at the maximum of 60 kph. And I'm pretty sure that this is number 9, Andy Lovett, as he makes his way down the pit lane. Looking closer, the name on the back of his leathers confirms my assertion. Andy Lovett it is. And this, I think, is Maria Costello, number 12, on her Suzuki. To avoid breaking the rhythm of the film, here are the stills of the same events. There's Alan Oversby, number 4, and that's Davy Morgan with his pink helmet, very distinctive, number 10. And number 9 is Andy Lovett, with a picture of him there also in the pits. And there's Maria Costello, number 12. We saw her arrive a moment or two ago.
So he's in there, Maroon, behind him, still working on the leading machine at the moment. And number 9.
And those, of course, are the distinctive colours of Roy Richardson as he pulls into his pit, very relaxed seemingly. And the man in the green helmet, about to spring into view, is Chris McGann.
So it's getting closer all the time, and Munty's going to have to pull through
out the back, I think, to resist this Michael Dunlop charge. But Dunlop clearly on it now.
What I've done with the next few arrivals is to overlay the still images of their arrival on top of the film to make it clearer who the riders are, and the first of those is Neil Vickers on his 750 Suzuki, number 18. And he's closely followed by one of the smaller machines, number 32, Phil McGurk. And there's Phil. Phil is third in his class at that point. The next arrival is number 33, Brian Mateer, who at that point was fourth in the smaller class of machines, the Junior Post Classic. And there he is, being dealt with by his pit crew. And the next arrival will be Derek Glass, who is fifth in his class at that point. And finally we catch up with Nigel Ray in the larger bike class, and he at that point is 13th in his class. And Nigel's followed by newcomer Dave Crucell, who's actually 12th in his class, having made up some time on Nigel Ray. And another rider just nipped through there who I was unable to identify. And the next arrival is Dave Moffat, bike number 36, or rider number 36, and he is 7th in his class at this point. Well, I've got the picture of the next chappie, but not a complete picture of his number, so I can't identify him. I'm sure he knows who he is. Now we catch up with number 37, Dean Martin, on his 350 Yamaha, and he at that point was 9th in his class.
Going well.
I think I've got my headphones on.
His bike's the same as Dunlop's bike, and one of those classes. Oh dear. There were a lot dropped out in the class. And the next to arrive will be number 42, Neil Chadwick, who is 8th in the smaller class on his 250 Yamaha. The next arrival will be Carl Fox, who's 10th in the smaller capacity race, the Junior Post Classic race. He went well earlier in the week. Tom Jackson, number 38, has lost a little bit of ground, but he's 11th in his class at that point. We switch back to the pits now as Carl Fox leaves. Paul Nolan, number 25 on the yellow machine, leaves very shortly thereafter. The man with the unpronounceable name, Marek Witkowski, is about to arrive, number 40, and he's in 12th position in the smaller class. Number 40 there being patiently dealt with by his pit crew, and the gent in the orange overalls inspects the machine from a safety angle and compliance. So much to be done in so little time, and away he goes. This is the arrival of Ian Perrott, number 47 on his Kawasaki, and he is in 13th position in the Junior Post Classic. And finally the arrival of number 48, Jim Snaith, on his 350 Yamaha. He's in 14th position in the Junior Post Classic race, and the pit crew are now free to cross the pit lane. Piece of concrete now. That was badly managed by a French guy that was managing it. We saw Ian Perrott arrive just now towards the back of the field, and sadly we're now watching him retire from the race at the end of his second lap. So that's number 47 retired. That was number 47 just retired. Well, that's pretty much all the activity at this end of the pit lane, so I'll proceed as quickly as possible down to the winner's enclosure, and we should see the early arrivals. And indeed, there's the first man in, number 7. And who's that? It's young Michael Dunlop. And immediately the photographers descend. Very humble young man, very ready to speak. And there he is chatting to the Manx radio interviewer within moments of stepping off his bike. Hardly had time to take a breath. Well, that's the sort of chap he is.
I knew you wanted to keep on, so I done another couple of days and then hard for it. Put it out down and then that's where I wanted to keep it because I knew the last lap was over that. The bike, I'm surprised to get going on it just because I haven't used 3 gear bikes, obviously they were just straight and head up. But thankfully, the bike together and thank you for the I sort of caught Russ then. I could see him.
Michael there still chatting to the radio interviewer and then to one of his pit team. And next we see the arrival of Mick Godfrey on his Kawasaki. He's the second place man, number 6. My goodness, I should think so after 4 laps round there. Certainly needs to wipe his mouth and have a drink. There we are. These people are real stalwarts. And as I said earlier, they're not all spring chickens like Michael Dunlop. And this is the bike of third place man, Alan Oversby, number 4, being wheeled away. And there's the rider himself being embraced by his wife or girlfriend, whoever. And again, the bike being attended to, and he too regains his composure. And he does get the chance for a drink before he's descended upon by the media and the radio interviewer. And then they wheel their bikes back at right angles to the backdrop screen, and another opportunity to photograph them all together. And then they'll move forward to the rostrum to be presented with their trophies proper in front of the grandstand. Michael, I'm sure he's still getting his breath, and I'm still trying to find a slot to take a film through, but it looks like the tank's falling off, or the saddle. No, it looks like the saddle. Oh well, he's home safely. And there's Mick Godfrey. Almost before we can take a breath, the riders from the junior post-classic race are arriving, and here's Roy Richardson having the same treatment from the Manx interviewer. But he looks pretty composed and well able to go through the race, at least the key elements of the race, for the benefit of the radio listeners. And there we just turn our attention back to the winners of the senior post-classic race.
All right, boys.
Michael Dunlop being congratulated again.
Head them up, move them out.
And there we see them all. And here's the second man, Philip McGurk, in the junior post-classic race. And there's Brian Mateer, number 33. And Roy again, chatting to 2 more of his crew. A slightly different view. And there's Brian Mateer. It's black and white leathers. Now we move quickly to the rostrum and the strains of the national anthem as the winners of the classic Superbike race are presented with their trophies. Michael Dunlop, Mick Godfrey and Alan Oversby. My goodness, I just wonder what thoughts are going through his mind as he listens to the national anthem. He thinks of his dad and his uncle Joey. Anyway, time is for celebration now, and the scouts take it in good part. They don't get a drink though. Oh well. And now they move down to ground level to pose in front of the rostrum with their trophies, and the second and third place riders either side of Michael Dunlop with their own thoughts, but the attention inevitably is on the key man after all the activity of the last fortnight and the highs and lows. At least they're there in the frame. Well done. I think the chappie in the blue next to Michael Dunlop is the creator of these large Suzukis, because they're replicas of 1970s bikes. So they're his brainchild. And now it's time for the same procedure for the three competitors in the smaller capacity race. And there we see Roy Richardson making his way up to the stairs. When I managed to hold the cameras safely, that is. Anyway, not to be missed. And they take their place on the rostrum there, ready to receive their trophies and the applause of the crowd. Phil McGurk receives his award. And then Roy Richardson. To the victor, the spoils of victory. But it's all pretty good natured. And there's the trophy being waved aloft by Roy, and then it's hats off once again for the national anthem. Now down to the front of the rostrum, there's Brian Mateer in his black and white leathers, Roy in the centre, and Phil McGurk in the second place hat, the end of the three. when they once again posed for the cameras. I guess they've probably just about got their breath back by now. The piece of music is called After the Victory, which rather appropriately allows us to reprise the scenes of Roy Richardson and the others receiving their awards and celebrating afterwards in a series of still images. Very justly deserved. And time for reflection, I guess, as they sit there quietly. But we've thoroughly enjoyed the morning's racing, and we look forward to the senior event, the main event of the Manx Grand Prix fortnight. But we leave this little film with the smiling face, or rather the pensive face there, but the smiling face of Brian Mateer. Well done to all, and thanks to the Manx Motorcycle Club for giving me the filming facilities.